YouTube, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. And in today's video, as you can see from the title, as you can see from the thumbnail, we have an OG Anunoby build for you guys here today, man. And the only reason why I have an OG Anunoby build right now, even though it's like in previous videos I have mentioned Anthony Edwards and Mike Conley, is because a buddy of mine was trying to decide what build he was going to go for next. And he was like trying to decide if he was going to go for a big or, you know, if he was going to go for like a forward or something like that, because he already has a shooting guard with Kobe Bryant. He already has his point guard with James Harden, the one that I helped create and all of chat helped create, but, you know, was using my template and then, you know, basing it around there, moving stats around, obviously, because that's what I always like tell people. It's like, just because I tell you, hey, this is how you make this build doesn't mean that you have to use this build. I mean, obviously, like, mess around with it, find your version that can also have possibly the same name, but use my builds as like templates, just so you can, you know, mess around with the stats and see what works and what doesn't work for the build name, and, you know, help you decide if you actually want to make a build with that name, so on and so forth. But I made another build for him because if you guys remember, I made a Scotty Barnes build as well for him as well back in the beginning of the game cycle, really near the beginning. So yeah, we have pretty much a really good defensive two-way score kind of build here, where you're able to score pretty much on all three levels. Not necessarily like, you know, excelling at scoring at all three levels, but being pretty decent, because you are a two-way build, so a lot of your stuff is going to go into defense as well. Not so much of the playmaking end, but you're going to be able to defend pretty well, like on every position. Not like obviously guarding centers, especially like traditional centers, but you will be able to guard pretty much 1 through 5 to an extent, obviously. And then you will be able to shoot from the 3. You will be able to drive, all kinds of stuff there. So let's go ahead and let's show you guys the build here. So keep in mind that a lot of these stats are based on and represented around his actual stats on the roster. So keep that in mind. That is the reason why some of these stats are like this, how they are, because it's based on his roster version to get these shades of comparison. And then obviously I went in once I got the shades of and just messed around with some of the stats. Hence, this is where the final version went, and he was pretty cool with it and he liked it. So obviously this is where we ended up with. And also I like it because of the shades that we do get on this build, which you have seen in a thumbnail. But if you guys didn't see it, obviously you'll see it at the end. But anyway, we do have a 73 close shot, which is good enough for Paint Prodigy, is the only reason why that we have it for Paint Prodigy on bronze. Even if you are not like really post scoring or anything like that, Paint Prodigy is actually a really good badge to have, because obviously we have like float game, obviously that will help us as well, but it does say improves the player's ability to quickly and efficiently score down low. So if you just happen to be in the paint, you know, wide open or whatever the case may be, like you are going for a cut, somebody passes the ball to you on the cut when you are underneath the basket already because it was a late pass or whatever, you can still get the shot up and it will still count for Paint Prodigy. So as long as you're pretty much in the paint going for a basket, whether it's, you know, off of like a standing layup or like a dunk or whatever, if you're in the paint going for a score, you will have Paint Prodigy proc. And as long as you have it on bronze, you'll be able to be just fine. You don't need to be like a post scorer or anything in order to use it. Hence why it's in the close shot category and not using anything else. So that's the main thing there with that. But we also have a 75 driving layup. The 75 driving layup is good enough for us to get physical finisher on bronze with the 70+ rating. We have aerial wizard on gold as well, mainly because of our driving dunk rating. And then, as I mentioned, we do have float game, which we cannot get on silver, unfortunately, but that's okay. And then we have layup mix master on bronze, which is what the 75 does give us. And I just punched the shit on my mic. But The driving layup does give us a layup mixmaster on bronze, so you're at least able to utilize that. It's not like it's going to be too crazy or anything like that, but you are able to use it. And, you know, just in case you do like a spin layup or like a euro or whatever, and you happen to get wide open off of it, then it will definitely help you make it, even though you could like get open off of like a spin or something like that without layup mixmaster. But obviously having the badge helps you hit, because it says hits fancy layups at a high rate. So it will help your percentage of your actual layup going in. Now with the drive and dunk being an 85, we had posterizer only on bronze. You need an 87 plus in order to get on silver. So that's, you know, nothing really too crazy here, but the 85 plus is still really, really good, even with only bronze posterizer. And then like I mentioned before, Aerial Wizard being on gold is pretty good, so we still have that. We have the 80 plus vertical as well, and if you really, really wanted to go for like a +4 with your cat breakers to get like some of the contact dunk animations, you still will be able to do that. So keep that in mind. You will be able to utilize like a +4 in order to get Hall of Fame Aerial Wizard and be able to get some contact dunk animations, if I can even speak. So yeah, getting those contact dunk animations are going to be pretty good, especially, like I said, if you use some of the cat breakers, but it just depends on what you want to use your cat breakers for. Then we have a 60 standing dunk, nothing too crazy there. And then we have a 45 post control, which also, as I mentioned, nothing really crazy there. Then when it comes to the shooting, we have an 87 mid-range and an 80 3-point rating with an 80 free throw. Feels really, really balanced here, considering that most of the time, like some people that are like really, really good at like being like a two-way player, they tend to not have like the best 3-point ratings, or they just have like these weird ratings where they have like an 83 pointer, but like a 95, 96 mid-range for some reason, which obviously makes sense to a degree here with Mr. OG Anunoby. But the only problem is it's like his stats are just crazy, considering that he also has like a lower ball handling and everything like that. Like I think all of his stats pretty much are pretty like, or like not significantly, but a little lower here in the playmaking section. But here he's supposed to have like an 82 plus 3-point rating and then like a 90 plus mid-range, and unfortunately we cannot even do that. So we have the 87 here for the mid-range, which does give us that shifty shooter badge on silver. And as you can see, you need a 91 mid-range or 3-point rating in order to get shifty shooter on gold. So it's not like he's going to be able to be that insane shot creator from the mid-range that, you know, a lot of people like to be, or at least like, you know, the playstyle that I like to watch the most is people being able to just be shifty in the mid-range and hit those crazy step back mid-range shots, or be able to shot create from the mid-range. So there's just like that there that we were just able to utilize, although we only max out at like an 88 3-point or mid-range with the 83-point rating. So if you wanted to, you could easily just max out both and just call it a day, but I just went with the 87 because the 88 really isn't giving us too much besides like maybe just a slight increase in shot percentage, and even then that's only very slight, like maybe by like a whole 0.1% you know, increase maybe from 87 to 88, but that's really about it. So nothing really too crazy there. So I just went with the 87 just so we get the breakpoint for shifty shooter. We have set shot specialist on silver. We're not able to get it gold because, like I said, you max out at like an 88 here, and then Deadeye being on silver as well. That's pretty good there. Obviously, the 83-point rating does not give us limitless range. It's unfortunate. But one thing that you could easily do is just lower the wingspan as well, is something that you could easily do here. Like for an example, if you really wanted to, you could just lower the wingspan to 7 foot. That way, you know, you're not messing anything up. Like really lowering the wingspan isn't going to really do too much for you. So what you could easily do is just lower the wingspan just so you can indeed utilize like an 83 3-point rating, and then use your cat breakers on that just to be able to increase your 3-point rating And then also, like, because the thing is, with how this build is, and with, you know, how everything is, if you get +5 cat breakers, then you can use two of them on mid-range just to be able to get to an 89 and get set shot specialist on gold. And then you can use 3 of them on 3-point shot in order to get limitless range on bronze. So that's literally a cool thing about this particular build, and where our stats lie is the fact that you can use all 5 on 2 different stats just to be able to get, you know, 1 badge upgraded, which is set shot specialist, and then you get that limitless range badge as well, which then obviously with max +1, you can easily turn that into silver limitless. So it's just one of those situations where you can do this, and it's really, really good. But obviously I'm just going to change it back to the 7'2" wingspan here, just to show you guys the original version of this, just to, you know, make sure that everything has continuity to it. Now with the playmaking though, we do have a 75 pass accuracy, 75 ball handling, and a 75 speed with ball. OG Anunoby is not the best ball handler in the world, nor is he the best playmaker in general. So the one thing that I did here was just make it to where he had a 75 pass accuracy, at least, just so he has that silver break starter and silver dimer, just so he has both of them. And then he has his 75 ball handling, which obviously, you know, is still nothing too crazy, but that's the break point for ankle assassin and some decent to, you know, like okay ball handle animations. And then you also get, you know, strong handle on silver here. You could get it upgraded to gold. That's where other cat breakers could come into play, where you can get gold strong handle as well, because they're not that great of like a ball handler in general. You're like, okay, you're average at ball handling, but obviously adding the +2 onto strength would be pretty cool, just so you can get that strong handle on gold, so you're not as bothered. So you're not going to have like really as many issues as you would without it. So yeah, and then obviously the 75 speed of ball is here just so we can get that silver lightning launch, just in general. That's the main reason why we have the 75 here. Also, I do believe you get some better dribble style animations when you do reach the 75 threshold because of lightning launch and everything, so that's pretty good there. But just for the sake of this, obviously, it's just meant for you to be able to have the ball and not have to worry too much about being a liability, unlike, you know, a lot of like traditional big man centers, where they're just inside centers with like no ball handling or anything, so they only have their post control to really utilize. So you could actually, you know, have a little bit of playmaking in you, but not too much to where it's taking away from anything else. You are still average on playmaking, but you are not a complete liability, and that's what's really, really good here about these stats. Now, the bread and butter of this build, besides obviously being able to, you know, drive and dunk at the rim and, you know, shot create in the mid-range, is the defense, because we're able to practically defend on every level here. We have an 80 interior defense, which does give us that post lockdown badge because of us having the strength for it. And then we do not have paint patroller just because we do not have the block rating. So there is that. But we do have off-ball pass on Hall of Fame, mostly due to us having a 90+ perimeter defense. And then speaking of the perimeter defense, we do have the 92, which is the threshold for challenger being on gold. But on top of that, we do have on-ball menace on gold, as well as pick dodger on gold as well. And then we also have bronze immovable enforcer because of our strength. And then we also have the aforementioned off-ball pest being on Hall of Fame as well. The steal rating being an 85, the only reason why I made it like an 85, besides him just having an 85 steal rating on the roster, if I'm not mistaken, is just because it's the breakpoint for interceptor on gold. And I didn't really feel like it was necessary for this build anyway to go all the way up to a 91. And the reason for that is just because I feel like gold glove has no better effect than silver glove. And I only say this because I have an Alex Caruso build. I also have a Kawhi Leonard build as well. So I have a couple of defensive oriented builds here. So the fact that I don't have like, or the fact that I'm not utilizing the 91 rating to get glove on gold means that I can still utilize those points elsewhere to be able to make everything else just a little bit better. So that just in general will help out a lot. And also we're not utilizing points just to get, you know, glove on gold, which if we wanted to, we could still put it on gold with the max +1. But in this case, interceptor would be the best bet. And also I have a buddy of mine that has like a really high steal rating, and he has like Hall of Fame glove and Hall of Fame interceptor and all that stuff. So yeah, and he says it doesn't feel any different compared to like gold. Doesn't feel like he's getting any more success. And that also could be due to the people that we're playing against. A lot of times you'll have people, especially as like a guard, you'll like have like a lot of people that have super high ball handle ratings, like 93, 94, 95 ball handles, maybe even higher than that. Maybe not really too much, but you understand the concept that I'm saying, where they'll have super high ball handles, so it's going to be really hard to rip them. And they're also using the most comp animations, just that prevents them from getting bumped and stolen as much as possible. So that's another reason why I'm not really worried too much about glove as much as I am for interceptor here. Because interceptor, those passing lanes, if you're still like, even though they kind of nerfed quote unquote the passing lanes, if you're still good at timing and knowing where to stand and what the passing lane is in between the ball and your guy, then you will still be fine to be able to play those lanes effectively, even with gold interceptor. Then the block rating, we have a 68, giving us high flying denier on bronze. That's the only reason why we have it, because I feel like OG Anunoby, and even my buddy said this as well when I showed him the build. He said that he liked the idea of us having like a really high vertical, as we have an 80 vertical, because he has sneaky athleticism where he's able to have like really good vertical, and it's very sneaky because you really don't see this man like driving and getting all the way up there for dunks or getting all the way up there for blocks or rebounds every single time, but he has that sneaky vertical in there where he's just able to, like, if needed, he's able to, you know, try and get up there for, you know, a dunk or something if 100% necessary. But it's not like he does it all the time. That's why he's pretty sneaky with it. So here with high flying denier and us having the 68 block, we kind of utilize that vertical rating, because obviously the vertical does help us with blocks and rebounds, as well as giving us, you know, driving dunk animations and standing dunk animations. We're just able to utilize more blocks because of us having a higher vertical, especially on taller, more effective bigs. So if we have like, you know, they have like 7-footers, we're still going to be able to get up there and get those blocks, especially on chase downs, if we are put in that position anyway. Now, with the rebounding being what it is, it's kind of low, 52 and 60. That's just because OG doesn't really have that much rebounding. He's not really one of those defenders that is going to specifically focus on rebounding. That's why he's like a two-way scorer kind of player, where he's mostly going to be shooting the ball in the mid-range or the three-pointer, or he's like driving into the basket if he's got a lane. And that's why he doesn't really have the playmaking as well, where he's not really focusing too much on grabbing the boards. He's focusing on being with the ball pretty much at all times, with the perimeter defense being high, with the steal rating being pretty good as well, and also having a good interior defense. He's really focused on getting stops more than grabbing boards. So that's why we only have a 60 here, just so he can get rebound chaser and box out beast, so he can still at least box out when necessary, and he can also grab rebounds when necessary as well. So it's not like it's going to be anything too crazy, but you're still going to be able to get the box outs and rebounds if you are put in that position where you are needed to. Now, when it comes to the physicals, we have an 81 speed, which the 80, you know, the 80 plus speed doesn't really give you too much, because what we do have is the requirements for slippery off ball and silver. We don't have it on gold though. And then we have high flying denier on bronze, as I already mentioned. So it's just one of those situations where it's just, he has an 81 speed on his roster version, And then he also has like a 90 plus agility, but we can't have the 90 plus. So we might as well just have it up to like an 83 just so it helps us a little bit. You do really only need an 80 just so you can get that on-ball menace badge on gold. But we just went ahead and just went up to an 83 all the way, just so it's maxed out and just so it's closer to just being realistic with his roster version instead of just having like a higher speed than agility, unlike, you know, he has on the roster version where he has only like an 81 speed, but a really, really high agility. He's not fast by any means, but he's agile enough to be able to get in front of people and get those stops when needed. Strength being a 71, he doesn't really have this high of a strength on the roster version, but obviously I went with the 71 because of Immovable Enforcer. That's the only reason why. But alongside that, we do get that physical finisher badge on bronze. We do get strong handle on silver, box out beast on bronze as well. And we have the requirements, obviously, for getting it on silver, but obviously we need plus 10 for our defensive rebound in order to get it on silver. So it's nothing too crazy there. And then we have, obviously, the aforementioned Immovable Enforcer, and then post lockdown as well. So we do have most of these badges on bronze, silver strong handle being the only one there. But yeah, you can obviously use some of your cap breakers in order to get an increase in some of these badges, mostly for the sake of having strong handle, really. Obviously, if you get like a +1, like if you use the +1 from having level 40 this season, you can put that on and get brick wall on bronze as well. That could be an option that you could utilize. But for the most part, it's going to be strong handle that's going to give you the biggest benefit if you do actually decide to increase your strength. But if you're somebody that likes to set some screens, you can use just the +1 here for strength and then get that brick wall and be able to set some more screens and have them be just a little bit more effective. Not too much, but you can still utilize some extra big brick wall screens, especially on the ball handler or even with an off-ball screen, because they really won't expect a small forward to be setting the screens. And then obviously we mentioned the vertical being an 80, which is really, really good. I feel like the 80 just made a lot of sense here. And also, like I mentioned, we do have really, really good, badges here that we could utilize with it, like the aerial wizard, like the posterizer. Obviously, like I mentioned, you can just do +2 on a driving dunk to get posterizer on silver, or you can just use like +4 in order to get it to an 89, just to be able to get some contact animations. And then we also have the high flying denier, as I already talked about before, with the vertical and just being able to get up there for blocks if put in that situation. But overall, this build I feel like is really, really good. OG Ron Artest, all-time Pacers Ron Artest as well. And then we have Lugan's Dort as well. Lou Dort here, really good defender that we know of. OG obviously being like a two-way guy, and then Ron Artest being a really, really great defender, known for his defense and physicality. And I say physicality with emphasis on physicality. Yeah, but we do have the two-way, three-level scoring threat. So yeah, I feel like this is just a really, really good OG Anunoby build. If there's anything that you guys would like to see like a little bit differently from it, let me know in the comment section down below. But this is also like it's going to be the same thing regardless, but I just wanted to show continuity in between the two. But obviously you can go with the 7-foot wingspan in order to be able to use cap breakers on your three-pointer in mid-range to be able to get those. Those are some options for cap breakers. Obviously, as I mentioned, you can use the +1 from level 40 this season to get that strength upgraded. There's just like a couple different ways that you can use cap breakers in this game, which is pretty dang good. You could also use cap breakers on your playmaking ability, get like a +5 on your ball handling to get to an 80, which is also pretty good, and that will give you silver unpluckable, so you can be a little bit more effective handling the ball. And like I mentioned, the driving dunk as well, you can use +4 on it just to be able to get to an 89, or if you really want to just even it out, +5 just to get to a 90. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of this build in the comment section below. That's going to be it for me, and I'll see you all in the next one. Later, everybody.